Alright guys, welcome. Today, I'm going to be not really doing gameplay today, we're going to be talking about the meta report that was just released by Team Wildside. So, reason I'm talking about this is because I am one of the contributors. You can't see it here because it hasn't been updated yet for some reason, but I am included in this. So I am one of the people that is writing this. I contributed my opinion to it, and I wrote some of the write-ups for it. So I was involved a decent amount in this report. And I just kind of wanted to go over it and, give some of my thoughts on it because I don't agree with it 100%, and I'll get more into that, into why that is. But yeah, let's get right to it. So, I think the first thing is probably to talk about the method, which they outline right here. I'll definitely links to report and everything in the video. But so the method is it's basically just taking they basically just take a spreadsheet and then just have a bunch of people they consider experts in wild rank the decks, and then they take kind of the aggregate of all that and put that into the meta report and then sort everything into tiers here. So obviously the tier 0, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. Yeah, and that's kind of how we make the tier list, and that's also why I don't always 100% agree with this, because I obviously put in my own ratings. I think the X is good, and then some other people disagree with me and think other things is good, which I think that sometimes it means we don't always get it right with this. But I think there's definitely upsides to it too, because it means, because we just do it through a spreadsheet like this, it means that some people who are more well known won't just be able to bully people into even not intentionally just bully people into going their way. Like if it's like me and Hijo in there and we're not doing it through the spreadsheet, people might just want to defer to what we're saying and not really put their own opinion in. So it's just if they put their own opinion in, it gets some nice diversity and makes it so that the report is relatively accurate. And the big bomb, I guess, so here's the tier list, and the big bomb drop is that Quest Mage is not the best deck in the game anymore, according to this. And I do agree with this. I think this is right. I definitely rate Pirate Warrior a bit higher than Quest Mage right now. There's so much Pirate Warrior, there's so much Discard Warlock, which is high tier 2, and Odd Demon Hunter, which is low tier 1. There's so much of those debts, even Shaman, which you really don't see much of. I think that's a little overrated. But anyway, these debts are pretty good into Quest Mage, and that means that Quest Mage is having a little more of a rough time right now. And it made sense that we're saying it's not the best deck in the game anymore. Pirate Warrior, while still counterable by a lot of Reno debts, I think that even if you're in a meta of a lot of control decks, Pirate Warrior can still take a bunch of games off them, and it can still high roll its way through that. And Quest Mage, while it can high roll through an aggro pocket meta, I think Quest Mage is much worse into the aggro decks than Pirate Warrior is into the Reno decks. I think Pirate Warrior still has a lot of game into the Reno decks, especially if you're playing stuff like Wrench Caliber in your Pirate Warrior. So I think I want to try and get into what I disagree with on this. And Even Shaman is definitely an odd one. I think in the last month, I played less than 5 Even Shamans in Top Legend. And just because the deck isn't in Top Legend, that's not the biggest indicator of whether it's good or not. But to put it in Tier 1, when there is barely anyone playing it in Top Legend, there's a reason people are. It's not that people aren't trying it. People try it, they don't win it that many games, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to move on to something better. And for that reason, I think Even Shaman should be somewhere in Tier 2, either in mid or in high Tier 2. And just looking at some of the decks in Tier 2 that are just much more popular in High Legend, I think those decks should be there above Even Shaman. And then the other big question mark is Control Cube Warlock, which recently has gotten very weak. It's still got Stall the Minar, it's still got Void Caller, it's still got all those cards that can high roll games. But into a bunch of the debts in Tier 1, there just isn't really a favorable matchup here. Demon Hunter can silence their stuff and go face pretty hard and beat Control Q-Block. Time Warp Mage, Quest Mage obviously just does a bunch of broken things, and Warlock just loses too much life before they get their taunts in the way, so Quest Mage wins that. Reno Priest has Psychic Stream, Raza 5, Anduin 8, all those things, and there's no Albatross anymore to turn stuff off, so Reno Priest really just kind of farms Warlock now. And then Pirate Warrior is like probably of the tier 1 deaths, this is like the best matchup for Control Cube. But even people like Hijo, her real, good Control Cube players say that even this matchup is like 50-50. So it just doesn't have any sort of positive matchup in here, and I think it should be a lot lower. There's like the good deaths in the meta right now. Warlock doesn't really have a favorable matchup against any of them, and you're gonna find yourself losing a lot if you're playing Warlock. So I think that it's really not good, and we've overrated it a decent amount here. It's kind of the same thing to Even Shaman, right? Like Even Shaman has like one okay matchup here, one not great matchup, one okay matchup in Control Cube-Lot, but that shouldn't be in tier 1 anyway. Not good into Demon Hunter, terrible into Priest. So yeah, Even Shaman should definitely be quite a bit lower in my opinion. And then there's a few of the tier 2s here, which I think should honestly be higher. I think this Control Reno Mage is maybe even better than Quest Mage right now. It is a seriously good deck in the meta. It's good against Reno Priest. It doesn't lose that hard to Time Warp Mage. It's like slightly unfavored in its Warrior. I think this matchup's like 40% maybe for it. So it's still, it's just solid into those deaths. It's solid into Cube Block. It's solid into Demon Hunter. Even Shaman is actually kind of bad for it. That's probably the worst matchup of all these tier 1 deaths, but Even Shaman shouldn't be in tier 1, so I think that's kind of a non-factor. And then when you get into the depths lower on here, it just gets better and better. But like the biggest thing with it is that it beats Reno Priest, and just has kind of fine matchups into everything else, which I think means it should be in tier 1 since it has some good matchups, and people are climbing well with it on ladder. Like people, like I've hit ranked 1 legend with it. He just hit ranked 1 legend with it. And the same can't be said for like Warlock or for Even Shaman. No one's really hit rank 1 legend with those deaths in a while now. Then we have EdCube Warlock, which I'm not sure why we put this on the report. I think this it's just strictly worse Cube Block at this point. It's just so much worse than normal Cube Block. It like you get slightly better into slower matchups like Reno Priest, which you still lose, but you're slightly better into Control Reno Mage, but you still lose. And then in the Adra matchups, you're just much worse than the deck that runs like Dart Skies in it. Secret Mage, I think is probably exactly where it should be. It may be a bit lower, like mid tier 2, but I think it's kind of fine. Discard Warlock, I think maybe should be tier 1. It might just be kind of fine exactly where it is, though, at high tier 2. It's still kind of inconsistent as far as deaths go. Then Bomb Warrior, we put at high tier 2, which I agree with, too. I like Bomb Warrior. I think it's a good deck, but just the Quest Mage matchup, some of the Warlock matchups, it's hard. It can be really hard to climb on ladder with it sometimes if you're not hitting a lot of Reno deaths or aggro deaths. And the polarized matchups can mean that you're just going to be hitting unwinnable games like Quest Mage somewhat often. So I understand why it's there, but with having such good matchups into like Reno Priest and Reno Mage, and against Hot Demon Hunter and Pirate Warrior too, it's also pretty good there. So you could make an argument that it should be in tier 1, like low tier 1, but I think it's kind of fine in high tier 2. Then we have Jade Druid, which is probably just too high, honestly. Jade Druid is so bad right now. It's kind of like the same thing that always happens to Jade Druid. It starts off pretty good beginning of expansion as people start to figure out the slow strategies and refine the aggro decks more. Like Jade Druid preys on like a bunch of like not very refined aggro decks usually, and those really fade away towards the end of the meta as the slow strategies get better, and then the slow strategies all beat Jade Druid, so it's just left in a really awkward spot. And I think it should be like tier 3 at least. It's having played a lot of Jade Druid on ladder, I'm not happy to play it. I'm very unhappy when I see a Priest opponent or a Mage opponent or even a Demon Hunter opponent. They can just play Wardglaives and chop down your spreading plate. It's a really weak deck at the moment. Galatron Warrior, probably fine in tier 2. It's not great. It's kind of the worst. It's definitely the worst of the Warrior decks right now. Well, I guess Odd Warrior is worse than it, but no one really plays Odd Warrior. And very few people play Galatron Warrior too. I'm kind of surprised it's as high as it is. I would have put it in like tier 3. I think I did rate it tier 3. Bid Shaman is... I think it's kind of a meme. I think it's a little high. I think it's kind of fake news. It's a fad that'll fade pretty quickly, I think, when people lose more with it, because it's it's again a really inconsistent deck, and it can be fatigued easily. People you can aggro it down pretty well. It's not okay anti-aggro tools, but nothing as good as the Reno decks have. You don't have yellow cards you can draw and automatically win the game with, which make it kind of weak as far as a slow deck goes. Odd Paladin is tier 3. Odd Paladin is garbage. Odd Paladin just loses on the early board so hard to Demon Hunter and Pirate Warrior. I think I did the write-up for that, and I think I was trashing on the deck. The write-ups aren't out yet, but they'll be out soon. Metathune Morlock's probably fine, mid-tier 2. Mech Hand Buff, I think should be 3. Aggro Road, I haven't played as an Aggro Road in ages. That's a little weird to have it at tier 2, but I guess it's kind of fine. Reno Quest Mage, maybe low tier 2, but you could argue it's 3 as well. It's by far the weakest variant of Mage. Murloc Paladin, all the Paladin decks are kind of the same. They're just don't have as good early game. If they're against a slow deck, sometimes they can cheese wins. That's basically what all the Paladins are like. Todd Druid is fine, and where it is low tier 2. Aggro Demon Hunter is just non-existent on ladder. I'm not sure exactly why we have that there, but sure. Odd Road is again non-existent. Inner Fire Priest also completely non-existent. Those are definitely the weird ones that we have there. I think that those really shouldn't be there, and that we should have like Reno Secret Mage, which I think is better than Reno Time Warp Mage. It's like not a bad deck, to be honest. And Malygos Druid would probably be higher, just because they have a lot more representation on ladder. Reno Lot, Reno Hunter tier 3, Aggro Druid tier 3, yeah, and the rest of tier 3 after that, it's just all a bunch of very not good decks that are all kind of memes. Linecatcher Druid and low tier 3. That'd maybe be higher, because Linecatcher Druid actually has positive matchups, unlike Jade Druid, even though it's all in all probably a much worse deck. And Zodia Paladin, Reno Road. Taunt Druid is absolute garbage. But yeah, that's like how I kind of feel about the tier list there. We don't have any lists on it yet, and they'll be there soon, but I generally like most of the lists I've already seen them. They're all pretty decent. There's nothing like aggressively bad in them like you see sometimes don't want to throw too much shade, but not gonna lie, Tempo Storm in the past, and Vicious Syndicate on occasion, but not quite as much, but Tempo Storm in the past has put out some real question mark lists that are... Don't want to play those on ladder. Those are not the optimal way to play the deck. But I think we generally, maybe a few cards that could be argued are different. But yeah, so that's the meta report. It's kind of what I agree with, what I disagree with. I think all my gripes can still be argued the other way. I think that everything I said was that should have been much lower, and everything that should have been higher. There's a good argument for it going the other way, but that's just my personal opinion about it and my little disagreement. But I don't think I have anything too major. I think when I looked at the other meta reports, when I pulled those up, I have much bigger disagreement with them. There's some more legitimate gripes and not stuff that can just be brought down to opinion. I think the only real glaring thing is Q Block being in tier 1. I think Q Block just shouldn't be in tier 1. You can argue its placement in tier 2, but I just don't think there's a way that's a tier 1 deck. But every other meta report put it pretty high too, and the deck is really falling off pretty hard. But yeah, that's it. That's the meta report. Hope you guys like it. There's definitely another thing that's great about this one is there's a lot of death lists in it. Even the weird things. When the death lists are put in there, there will be a lot of death lists to look at if you want to find some spicy stuff to play. Where's the class ranking? I've never really understood. The class ranking is it's just kind of showing how many deaths each class has. I think Warlock always gets kind of disproportionately raised in this. Someone just pointed out Pinata, even Shaman Yato. When Tempo Storm did that, it was... don't do that, But anyway, the meta, Warlock always gets overrepresented in this, because there's a bunch of decks that are just Void Caller, Void Lord decks that just get, have a slightly different win condition, but basically play out almost exactly the same. I think Mage and Warrior are, definitely the two strongest classes in the game right now. They each have a bunch. They usually have a few tier 1 and tier 2 archetypes that can all get to pretty high ranks. Shaman like is tiny, but Shaman's at like 2 decks, and then Priest is like really just 1. Druid doesn't really has like half a deck. Demon Hunter being so low, like Demon Hunter only has one real deck obviously, but it's really played a lot. Paladin, Road, and Hunter are just kind of the dumpster classes in Wild right now. Not really any viable strategies in them. They're pretty weak, and Hunter has been the kind of the laughing stock of Wild for a while now. But yeah, that's that. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy the meta report. See ya. Alright. So that's that. That's that done. What month was that? I don't even remember. I don't even know if I was that active in Wild when that happened. Damn, that was a lot of talking though. Hopefully that's a decent length. I didn't see how long I talked for, but I talked for a while there. But yeah, there was actually a month where they had Pinata in the Even Shaman. I hope it wasn't in the actual list and it was just like as one of the tech options, but ugh. God, Sizzle got bullied on Twitter, justifiably so for that. I would enjoy seeing someone show why Reno Secret Mage is considered better than Secret by some. I mean, I played it a bit. I think that is just, I mean, it's just the yellow cards. Just Secret Mage. It's like slightly worse Secret Mage some of the time, but other times you draw yellow cards and it's way better than Secret Mage. I think that I'm not sure it's necessarily better, but it definitely has different matchups. It's like definitely better in some aggro matchups, and it can high roll a lot more. I've played a decent amount of it, but I played enough to the point where I actually feel like I kind of like it, and that is definitely a viable deck. Like normal Secret Mage just feels really clunky sometimes, and like the high roll potential really just isn't quite there. But, you know, Xatus, Reno, Zeph. Zeph gives you so many options in the early game. And late game, Zeph's just insane. And Relicologist kind of means just you win any board. Like, some of the matchups where you get beaten out on the early board and you don't draw your Flak Mage, like, you have Reno still, which can win you back the board. So I think just the basically just